Devastatingly boring. What ancient Egypt's junk food reveals about their shocking daily life. Ancient Egypt. A land of pharaohs, mysteries, and believe it or not junk food. You heard right. Imagine walking through the bustling markets of Thebes, the smell of roasted figs and honey wafting through the air, while vendors shout enticingly about their delicacies. But beneath that beautiful facade of pyramids and hieroglyphics is a shocking secret, one that could change everything we think we know about the daily lives of those ancient people. They weren't just eating bread and porridge, no, they devoured strange treats that would make our junk food cravings seem mild by comparison. It was like a culinary avalanche, unexpected and unstoppable. Picture this: crispy, flatbread made with gritty flour, so tough it could double as armor. The locals paired it with fish drenched in putrid sauce, while the bravest souls indulged in quail eggs, left out for days, festering in the sun until the smell was ripe enough to knock anyone over. Can you imagine? It's both disgusting and utterly fascinating. And these weren't just odd meals, they shaped the health and habits of an entire civilization. The very stories we think are carved in stone might just crumble into dust under the weight of their dining choices. Then there's the legend of the hungry pharaoh, a tale whispered in shadowy corners of the great temples. He was said to demand food that would boggle the minds of future archaeologists. Imagine him screaming for figs dipped in toxic honey, only to later be found dead with crumbs on his royal robe. Was it the food, or was it something more sinister lurking in the sands? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Now, after unearthing the layers of gluttony, we must ask, what drove them to these outrageous choices? Could it be a desperate attempt to mask the crushing heat of the desert sun, or to fortify against unseen spirits of the afterlife? The answers linger in the air like the scent of rotting food. With each taste described in dusty scrolls and each secret kept buried under centuries of sand, the truth is more tantalizing and terrifying than we dared to imagine. What else lies hidden in those ancient lands? What other chilling revelations await to be uncovered? The sun dipped low over the horizon, casting an eerie golden glow across the sands of Egypt. Shadows danced as if whispering secrets long forgotten. The weight of history pressed down like the oppressive heat of day. Somewhere, in the heart of Thebes, a man's heart raced with an urgency that gripped him tight. His name was Amari, a simple merchant, but tonight, he held something extraordinary in his hands, a scroll. It was old, frayed at the edges, but the words contained within promised revelations that could shake the very foundation of what scholars believed about ancient Egyptian life. Amari had stumbled upon it while rummaging through his father's neglected belongings. Days of guilt-ridden gnawing had led him back to that hideaway in the marketplace. Curiosity had paved the way to discovery, but now it was panic that settled in his stomach. What if they find out? He mumbled, glancing over his shoulder as if the walls held eyes. He knew the pharaoh's guards wouldn't take kindly to anyone challenging the established myths. They'd drown him in the Nile without a moment's pause. Amari wasn't just afraid for his life, he felt a tugging at his conscience. Should he unveil the truth or keep the tales of indulgence buried forever? The scroll described meals that could make any modern chef shudder. Meals so bizarre they danced on the brink of culinary insanity. Quail eggs, yes, but also, roadkill. He swallowed hard at the thought. It was madness. But it wasn't just food, it held deeper implications. An entire society driven to consume scraps, perhaps as a reflection of their desperation in a land stricken by hardship. As Amari turned each fragile parchment, a sensation wormed its way through him, a mix of fear and exhilaration. What if this knowledge unleashed a storm? What if it revealed that the richness of Egypt did not just extend to its divine kings and queens, but included some grotesque realities? Could he bear witness to such a radical shift in history? The market bustled outside. Laughter, shouts, and clattering pots mixed with the aromas of frying foods. What if he exposed them to this ugly truth? Would they revolt? Would the pharaoh pale at the thought of his people sharing not just his joys but his darkest gastronomic secrets? Amari's fingers trembled as he clutched the scroll tighter. He had to choose. He could flee, like a coward, or confront the twisted truths that gnawed on his conscience. The choice echoed in his mind, refusing to release him. Maybe I can make a difference, he whispered to himself, staring back at the chaotic world outside his safe cocoon. Just then, a chilling scream pierced the air. It was a voice he recognized: Batet, a friend who knew of his curiosity about the ancient secrets lurking in the shadows. He rushed out into the tumultuous street, heart racing and the scroll clutched against his chest. What he found was a scene straight out of a nightmare. A group of guards loomed over Batet, angry murmurs rising around them. They had uncovered something, and it was clear it had to do with the secrets of their past. As he approached, the tension electrified the air, and he felt the undeniable pull of fate. Amari! Batet cried, her eyes wide with terror. They know. They know everything. His breath caught in his throat as he scanned the crowd. What had she meant? What had been discovered? And in that moment, standing at the edge of chaos, he realized that what was hidden beneath the sands of Egypt was teetering on the brink of revelation. Would he be able to stop them? Would he uncover the truth before it was too late? The sands of time shifted, and as Amari stepped forward, he knew there was no turning back. What awaited him in the depths of that chaos? Would the truth bring liberation or devastation? Amari's heart thundered in his chest, the chaotic buzz of the crowd merging with the pounding in his ears. He pushed forward, desperate to reach Batet. The guards stood like stone walls, powerful and unyielding, their eyes glinting with the thrill of their authority. They had uncovered something, and whatever it was, it crumbled the very world of secrets that Amari had navigated for so long. Batet, he shouted, his voice strained. Their eyes locked for a fleeting moment, her fear battling against the shadows swirling around her. He could see her lip quivering, the knowledge of something terrible bubbling just beneath the surface. You have to leave, she cried, dodging a guard's hand as it swept towards her, fingers clutching the air. The crowd jostled, uncertainty filling the space like electric tension. He pressed closer, knowing the guards wouldn't separate them without a fight. His grip on the scroll threatened to slice into his skin, the very words inside it now a curse and a treasure. He couldn't turn back. Not now. What do they know? Amari whispered, inching toward her, desperate to understand the danger piercing through their world. The guards eyed him, their sneers as sharp as daggers. The scrolls, they were found. Batet gasped, her face pale as she panted for breath. They're demanding to know where we got them. We have to warn them. Who? He interjected sharply, a chill racing down his spine. The others, the scholars and the priests. They can't find out what we discovered. It could end everything. This truth is darker than we imagined. A guard barked an order, and the crowd murmured, rippling like water disturbed by a sudden splash. They sensed the shift, that menacing gridlock between power and fear tightening with every heartbeat. Amari couldn't think straight but knew he couldn't let Batet suffer for his discovery. He took a breath, realigning his focus as the guards moved in, their intentions clear. The scroll's true power loomed over him. Its revelations could either shatter the myths of their society or bury them forever. Listen to me. He yelled at the guards, voice rising like a surge. You don't understand. There's more to this than you know. They only glared, stepping forward with an air of authority that sent panic racing through the crowd. Murmurs of dissent arose, reflected in the furrowed brows and fearful faces. They feared the truths being cornered, just like Batet. Then, from the corner of his vision, he spotted movement, a figure slipping through the throng toward their commotion. Cloaked in shadows, it dazzled with an aura of mystery that seemed to cloak the scene in an even deeper despair. Amari's breath hitched at the figure's familiar silhouette, his old mentor, Sikkim. Seacom. Amari called out, desperation clawing his throat. But the mentor, as if entranced, merely marched forward, eyes locked onto the guards. The tension spiraled, rumors and chaos intertwining in the air thick with dread. A sudden lurch in the crowd sent people crying out, pushing back against the guards like a wave defying a mountain. The guards faltered, drawn by the movement, and in that split second, he felt a surge of hope. Now! Batet cried. We have to go, Amari. Amari hesitated only for a heartbeat, glancing back at Seacom. There was a powerful connection in that moment, an understanding that the truth was powerful enough to dismantle their very foundations. They could expose the Pharaoh's darkness, but at what cost? With a last glance at Seacom, he reached for Batet and plunged into the fray. As they tore through the gathering, the guards screamed for order, but the allure of truth crackled with tension, threatening to consume everything. What lay ahead was uncertain, danger prowled close behind, the shadows stretching farther than he ever knew they could. Could they escape the guards' wrath? Or were they simply unraveling the threads of a deadly tapestry already woven in deceit? As Amari and Batet vanished into the dim alleys of Thebes, a storm brewed, preparing them for a confrontation they could never have predicted. Amari and Batet ran, weaving through the narrow alleys of Thebes, heart rates matching the chaos erupting behind them. Every pounding footfall echoed in his skull as they ducked beneath low-hanging awnings and dodged between vendors brimming with colorful wares. The scent of bread and spices filled the air, a stark contrast to the bitter adrenaline surging through Amari's veins. Where to? He gasped, glancing over his shoulder. Shadows darted between stalls, figures drifting like specters, guards hunting them down, hungry for retribution. Keep moving. Batet urged, her eyes wide, fear etched across her face. We can't stop until we're far away from here. We need to find the others. The scrolls, they must be protected. He nodded, gripping the parchment tightly. The ancient symbols burned as if they were seared into his palm. It was more than history, it was a key to a truth that could shatter everything they believed. How could it lead them to safety when its mere existence had unleashed such chaos? The streets narrowed, closing in around them. They bounded along the cobblestones, the crowd thinning with every turn, each choice another possible misstep. At the edge of a bustling marketplace, they skidded to a stop, panting, scanning for options. Over there. Batet pointed, her urgency infectious. The temple. We can hide in the catacombs. Are you sure? Amari hesitated, the looming entrance seeming almost like the maw of a beast ready to swallow them whole. It's our best chance. She spat, determination igniting her eyes. They rushed forward, the shadows of the temple casting an ominous splendor over them. Inside, the scent of incense hung thick, swirling like clouds of illusion. Flickering torches fought against creeping darkness, illuminating murals of gods and goddesses, their faces set in eternal judgment. Amari's pulse raced louder than the winds outside. Quick! Batet hissed, darting down a spiraling staircase that led to the catacombs beneath. Amari followed, the walls closing in as they descended into the cool, dark recesses. Once inside, silence engulfed them, a heavy blanket of uncertainty and dread. Amari's breathing slowed, but fear gnawed at his insides like a hungry rat. What if they find us? Batet bit her lip. We're safe for now, but we can't stay long. What if the guards? What if they come here? A thick tension filled the air. Amari stared at the scroll, weighing its weight against the potential it held. We have to decide what to do with this. If they catch us, it's not just us who will suffer. The others I know. She interrupted, frustration sharpening her voice. But we can't just destroy it, Amari. It's our only chance to expose the truth. As her eyes pleaded, their resolve surged. His fingers tightened around the scroll as he turned it in his hands. Every fiber of his being sensed the impending danger, but also the necessity of action. Suddenly, a muffled commotion echoed outside the temple walls, the hurried shuffle of guards, accompanied by shouts. Panic gripped Amari, they had come too close. The guards' demanding voices surged from the entrance, calling for their heads, seeking retribution. Amari! Batet gasped, her face a mask of terror. They could be here any minute. We can't let them find us. The noise grew louder, shaking the very bones of the temple. The urgency pressed upon them in thick layers, echoing like a beating drum urging them to flee or fight. We need to make a choice now, he whispered, standing at the brink of a decision. Do we confront them? Or do we escape deeper into the catacombs? As each heartbeat thudded like a battle drum, another crest of voices surged from above, coupled with the sound of hurried footsteps. The guards wouldn't back down easily. Whatever lay ahead, escape came with a price. They steeled themselves, knowing they had to act fast, yet unsure of the path that awaited them. The path would either lead them to betrayal or reveal an even darker truth lurking beneath Thebes. Would they face their pursuers, or slip further into the shadows of history, lost to the world? Above? They had to choose not just their fate but the fate of all they held dear. What would the truth demand of them? The narrow passageway of the catacombs felt suffocating as Amari and Batet plunged into the pitch-black depths. The air was damp and chilled, every breath a battle against the lurking fear that clung to them like a shroud. Amari's heart raced on, pushing against his ribcage. The fading sounds of the guards above set the rhythm of his growing panic. Which way? He whispered, the silence magnifying his voice. Shadows danced along the stone walls, mocking him with their flickering shapes. Batet pressed her back against the wall, her face lit by the faint glow of a distant torch. There are tunnels branching off everywhere. We must stick to the plan. The others are further in, waiting. Her words trailed off, uncertainty creeping in. Do you really think they're still alive? He asked, biting back the dread that threatened to pour forth. Memories of the last meeting echoed painfully in his mind, their faces filled with hope, the promise of rebellion. Would they face the same fate as they? Before she could respond, a deep rumble echoed from the passage, causing the walls to tremble. Amari's breath caught. What was that? Panic tightened around his throat. Keep moving. Batet urged, taking the lead as they pressed ahead. They picked up the pace, slipping through winding tunnels, each step feeling precarious, the weight of the scroll heavy in Amari's pocket. Wherever they were going, it felt like an abyss, swallowing them deeper into a world lost to time. The air thinned, and with it, their hope. They had to find the others, but dread snaked around Amari's thoughts. What if the guards find them first? What if we're too late? Batet turned to him suddenly, her eyes fierce. We can't think like that. We're alive, and that means we still have a chance. We have to hold on to hope. Her words felt like a lifeline, but his mind tugged at shadows of despair that whispered of failure. Amari's chest tightened as he stumbled forward, nearly losing his footing. Behind them, the guards' voices grew louder. Anger surged through him, pushing him onward. They wouldn't let the truth die like this. We have to do something. Then let us find the others and come up with a plan. She shot him a look that ignited a flicker of determination in his soul. Right, Amari replied, his voice steadier now. We need every moment we can get. He held the scroll tighter, reminding himself that it was their path to freedom. As they ventured into a wider chamber, faint echoes bounced off the walls, mingling with the sound of their footsteps. The torchlight flickered ghost-like, illuminating ancient hieroglyphs that lined the walls, images of fierce battles and soaring gods. They were trapped here in the catacombs, but these symbols bore witness to their struggles, written across the ages. Suddenly, a noise stopped them cold, a rustling somewhere deeper within the darkness. Amari's heart lurched. Did you hear that? Batet glanced nervously around, her posture rigid. It could be the guards, or something worse. Do you want to find out? He half joked, but a thick tension settled between them. No, she said firmly, her resolve unwavering yet tinged with fear. We need to decide, investigate or slip away before it's too late. They stood motionless, a weight of choice hanging in the air. Behind them, the guards' shouts echoed like a countdown, counting down their dwindling chances of escape. Amari could practically feel the walls close in on him. Whatever lurked just out of sight, it was becoming impossible to ignore. I guess we have to face our fear, he breathed, forcing himself forward. As they carefully approached the source of the noise, the shadows shifted, revealing a doorway, faintly glowing as if breathing secrets of its own. What lay beyond was anyone's guess, but it was a choice they had to make. Something's waiting for us, he said, heart hammering against his ribs, uncertain if it was dread or anticipation. One thing was certain, the truth loomed ahead, beckoning them toward decisions that could change everything. With a shared glance, they stepped closer, caught in a frenzied swirl of hope and fear. What waited for them beyond the door? Would it secure their fate or lead them into further darkness? Amari and Batet exchanged a resolute nod, each consciously squaring their shoulders as they moved toward the glowing doorway. With each step, the air around them thickened, charged with an electric anticipation that sent ripples down Amari's spine. The flickering light danced oddly, as if teasing a truth just out of reach. The door loomed larger, intricately carved with more hieroglyphs, symbols that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. A wave of curiosity washed over Amari, battling with his terror. What if it's a trap? He murmured, glancing back down the passage they had come from. It could also be a way out, Batet countered, her determination stealing Amari's will. We have no choice but to find out. He bit his lip and forced himself to look at her. Beneath the intensity of her gaze, fear melted into a flicker of comfort. They had come too far to turn back now. Wrapping his fingers around the cool stone of the doorway, he pushed it open. It creaked softly, revealing an expansive chamber beyond. What greeted them was an ethereal sight. The chamber glimmered with a celestial light that seemed to come from nowhere yet illuminated everything within. Walls of ancient stone adorned with vivid murals depicting the lives of people long gone, their faces alive in colors that appeared brand new. A sense of eeriness wafted toward them, mixing with the dampness of the air. Look, Batet breathed out, pointing toward the far wall. Large frescoes depicted a grand procession of figures dressed in ornate robes, their faces adorned with expressions of delight, yet there was something unsettling in their eyes, a hollowness that sent chills racing through Amari. What's that supposed to show? He whispered, stepping further inside, drawn like a moth to a flame. They lived in opulence while his voice trailed off as a low howl echoed within the chamber. Amari's heart slammed against his chest. What was that? A fear gripped his throat, remembering what lurked behind. Before Batet could answer, another sound cut through them, a crash from behind, followed by the unmistakable clash of metal. They're here. Amari gasped, eyes darting back to the passage. The guards that in a heartbeat, panic gripped them both. The whispers of the chamber shifted into a raging cacophony, the figures almost mocking their plight. With no time to think, Amari grabbed Batet's arm, pulling her deeper into the chamber. This way. They sprinted toward a doorway on the opposite side, the urge to escape drowning out all rational thought. Just as they reached the threshold, Amari glanced back. The guards poured into the chamber, their faces twisted in grim determination, torches sputtering in the dark. Go! Amari shouted, shoving Batet through first before following. As he crossed the threshold, he felt a powerful shift. The doorway closed behind them with a boom, reverberating through the chamber like a heart at the brink of collapse. They knelt in a small corridor, panting. The walls here were smooth, painted over with strange symbols that glowed faintly. What is this place? Amari asked, his voice barely a whisper. Batet leaned against the wall, her breath still ragged. I don't know. But it seems ancient. We need to keep moving before they find another way in. As they pressed further into the unknown, beams of light began to shift through gaps in the walls, casting eerie shadows. Amari could feel his instincts tingling, each footfall echoing in a silence thick with foreboding. A low growl emerged from the darkness ahead. It was deep and guttural, reverberating off the walls like a thunderclap. Amari froze, heart racing. Are we being hunted now? Batet's eyes flared, a mixture of fear and resolve igniting within them. Whatever it is, we can't show weakness. We have to get out of here. Their choices had led them into an old world, but what they would find up ahead was a question that hung in the air like an omen. As they crept forward, the growl transformed into a series of clicks, resonating in an otherworldly rhythm. The darkness thickened as they moved deeper into the heart of the ancient labyrinth. Was it the past that awaited them or something darker, an answer shrouded in shadows and echoes, waiting to be discovered? But as they rounded a corner, a figure stepped into the glowing light, leaving them standing on the precipice of realization. Was it friend or foe? And did it carry the key to their survival? Amari and Batet exchanged anxious glances, the air around them thick with uncertainty. The figure, cloaked in shadows, stood still in the ethereal light, its features obscured. A moment felt like an eternity as they tried to identify whether this was their salvation or doom. "Who are you?" Amari called out, his voice a tight wire of fear and hope. The figure shifted, revealing sharp features and deep-set eyes that gleamed with an unsettling brilliance. "I am Khepri," it declared, the air around them quaking as the name escaped its lips. "Guardian of the secrets that lie beyond." Batet grabbed Amari's arm, a mix of fear and awe flickering in her eyes. "Guardian? What secrets?" she urged, her voice trembling as she took a cautious step closer. Khepri moved forward, the light seeming to bend around him, revealing an elaborate headdress adorned with scarab motifs and glistening stones that might have belonged to a royal. The atmosphere thickened, charged with an ancient power that felt both inviting and menacing. "This place was crafted long before your time, by hands reaching for knowledge. But knowledge does not come without a price." Amari's heart raced, swallowing hard as the sense of being ensnared tightened around him. "What kind of price?" Khepri's smile was enigmatic, but his eyes held an intensity that froze Amari's breath. "Your fears. Your choices. They will guide you to the truth, but it may show you horrors you never wanted to face." Before Amari could react, another growl erupted from the shadows behind them, a menacing echo that sent chills down his spine. The guards were closing in, their heavy footsteps a reminder that time was running out. "We can't linger, Khepri. We need to trust in the path you choose," Khepri interrupted, his tone firm yet surprisingly calm. "The choices lie in your hands. The knowledge you seek is within reach, yet it demands your courage." With that, he gestured toward the corridor stretching before them. The walls pulsed with light, almost beckoning them forward, while behind, the guards' shouts grew louder, frantic and filled with rage. "Run!" Amari shouted, pulling Batet along, their instincts overtaken by the primal need to survive. Each footstep echoed in the confines of the cavern, blending with the looming menaces trailing behind. As they moved deeper into the labyrinth, the passage shifted, twisting unnaturally, the walls seeming to pulse like a heartbeat. The further they went, the darker it became, the light receding, replaced by an unsettling silence that made Amari's skin crawl. A sudden silence fell over them, and the air turned sharp. "Amari!" Batet gasped, pointing ahead. A doorway loomed, but it was unlike any they had seen. The threshold glimmered ominously, pulsating with a deep blue light that seemed to shudder in response to their presence. "What now?" Amari whispered, feeling a sense of foreboding rooting him to the spot. "The guardian spoke of choices," Batet replied, her voice barely more than a breath. "We can either face whatever this is, or turn back and risk the guards." Amari felt the weight of the decision hanging between them. Each path bristled with danger, the unknown ahead or the hunters behind. His thoughts raced. Was Khepri right? Were they on the edge of insight, or would they plunge further into chaos? "Trust yourself," he murmured, realizing he had to make the leap. "We can't go back." They stepped toward the threshold, heart pounding in rhythm with the glowing light, the air thrumming with anticipation. Just as they reached for the doorway, a loud crash echoed from behind them, and the chamber trembled. The guards surged into view, faces twisted with fury, their torches casting ominous shadows against the walls. "Go!" Amari screamed, adrenaline surging. They dove through the opening, the world swirling around them as darkness engulfed them once more, but this time, it felt alive, vibrant with untold mysteries that whispered of forgotten truths. What awaited them on the other side? Would they face the realities that Khepri warned of, or another layer of the labyrinth that would ensnare their fates? Their courage would soon be tested, but the thrill of what lay ahead ignited the hope inside. They were far from finished. Something monumental awaited them, just out of reach. Amari and Batet stumbled into a vast chamber, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, a metallic tang that hung, heavy and foreboding. The moment they crossed the threshold, the door behind them sealed with a resounding thud that echoed like a funeral bell. "What now?" Bastet's voice trembled, a whisper barely audible above the pulsating glow that illuminated the chamber. The light swirled, casting eerie shadows across stone walls that seemed to pulse with life. "I don't know," Amari admitted, his throat dry, the weight of Khepri's words pressing heavily on him. The Guardian's cryptic warning slipped into his thoughts, fears, choices, and the horrors that awaited. Before he could ponder further, a low rumble erupted from the far side of the chamber. The ground quaked beneath their feet. Amari turned, his heart racing, as a massive stone door began to rise, revealing another corridor. This one was lined with ancient hieroglyphs that sparkled with an otherworldly light, each symbol glinting like a star in the night sky. "Look!" Batet pointed, her eyes wide with equal parts fear and curiosity. "Those markings, they could be a clue." Amari stepped closer to the wall, tracing the shapes with his fingers, feeling warmth radiate from the symbols. "What if they lead us to the answers we need?" He felt an electric thrill, battling against the weight of dread. But just then, another crash echoed through the corridor they'd just come from. A chorus of demonic growls erupted, vibrations crawling up his spine. The guards were relentless, snapping at their heels, their fury feeding the darkness that surrounded them. Sweat dripped from Amari's brow as a primal instinct screamed at him to flee. "We have to move!" Amari shouted. They dashed down the newly opened passage, the hieroglyphs lighting up in rhythm with each step they took, as if they were reacting to their presence. And then, as they ran, Batet suddenly stumbled, her foot catching on a stone protrusion. She fell, a gasp escaping her lips as she hit the ground hard. "Batet!" Panic surged through Amari as he spun around, his chest tightening. "I'm fine." She gasped, pushing herself up, but her trembling hands betrayed her fear. Amari reached out, helping her steady herself. "We can't stop. We have to go." They pressed onward, deeper into the abyss. The air felt thicker, wrapping around them like tendrils of fog. His mind raced through Khepri's warning. They were racing to discover answers, but what if those answers unleashed something far worse? The passage twisted and turned, finally opening into a vast subterranean room, undeniably ancient yet vibrant with energy. At its center stood a pedestal with a glowing orb, pulsating like a heartbeat. It drew Amari's gaze, the very essence of Khepri's assertion. Here lay the knowledge they sought. "What is that?" Batet's voice broke through his reverie, laced with awe and trepidation. I think it's what we need." But he hesitated, the orb flickering in pulsating waves of azure light. "What if it does show us our fears?" "Only one way to find out," Batet whispered, the determination in her eyes cutting through the fear. Their connection tightened, a tether of hope amidst the abyss. Tentatively, they approached the pedestal. The moment Amari's fingers grazed the orb's surface, a wave of electricity rippled up his arm, shocking his senses alive. Visions flooded his mind, horrors, choices, and faces he could barely comprehend, each more terrifying than the last. He shuddered, struggling to pull back, but he was anchored in place. "Amari!" Batet cried, reaching for him, her voice slicing through the chaos swirling in his mind. but then another crash rumbled through the chamber, and the ground shook violently. Dust fell from above, and the weight of the darkness seemed to press more heavily, threatening to swallow them whole. "Let go!" Amari screamed, wrenching his hand free, his heart pounding in rhythm with the chaos surrounding them. They turned, frantically searching for an escape as shadows chased them down. "Where do we go?" Batet's eyes darted, wide with terror. "Back. We need to find another way out." As a growl echoed through the darkness, Amari felt time slip from their grasp. The shadows stretched forward, dark and insatiable. "Run!" With their hearts pounding and dread rising, they bolted back down the passage, but was it too late? What awaited beyond the shadows that loomed closer? Would they uncover the truths that Khepri promised, or would those truths seal their fates forever? Amari pulled Batet's arm as they raced through the dark corridor, panting heavily as the growls echoed ominously behind them. Heartbeats thundered in his ears, each footfall a reminder of the peril chasing them. The flickering light from the hieroglyphs barely illuminated their path, twisting shadows clawing at their backs. "Faster!" he urged, his voice strained. The walls seemed to close in, pressing against them like a serpent coiling tighter. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the orb they had touched. It lit the entire passage in an ethereal glow, freezing Amari in his tracks. He turned to see Batet struggling against the light, her features distorted in fear, her silhouette stark against the brilliance. "No! Batet!" he shouted, his heart dropping. Was the orb trying to claim her, but his voice barely broke through the disorienting light, as a deafening roar erupted. The ground shook hard enough to send Amari sprawling, the world around him spiraling out of control. He gritted his teeth against the pain, pushing up from the floor as Batet staggered to her feet, her eyes wide with terror. I can't see," she shouted, reaching out for something, anything to ground her. "Follow my voice," Amari yelled, fear creeping into every fiber of his being. He stumbled toward her, and as he reached out, the light began to pulse in time with the roar, an ominous heartbeat echoing around them. In a gut-wrenching moment, the light flickered out. Darkness enveloped them, swallowing every sound save for their ragged breaths. Amari darted toward the sound of Batet's quickened heart, an anchor in a sea of uncertainty. "We need to keep moving." He grasped her wrist, the warmth of her skin grounding him amidst the dread, but before they could take another step, a colossal shadow loomed in the darkness, a figure formed from the very essence of nightmares. Its glowing eyes locked onto them, bright and malevolent. The growl they had heard transformed into a guttural laughter that shook the air. Amari froze. He could feel the weight of Khepri's warning crash over him anew. This was the result of their journey. "Amari, we can't stop." Batet's voice jolted him, pulling him back from the precipice of despair. The creature lunged, its claws sharp and glinting, tearing through the darkness towards them. Panic ignited beneath Amari's skin. "Run!" he shouted, and they sprinted once more, fear propelling their legs through the corridor. "What is that thing?" Batet gasped, glancing back as the creature pursued with speed that defied comprehension. "I don't know. Just keep moving." The passage twisted sharply, and they careened around the bend, breathless. There, ahead, a faint light beckoned like a siren's call. Amari could barely register anything else, his singular focus was survival. As they neared the light, the ground ahead split. A chasm gaped wide, deep and dark, with no clear bottom. Amari skidded to a halt, grabbing Batet just before she could leap. "No. We can't go that way." The creature's roar reverberated thunderously behind them, closer now, almost upon them. "We have to jump," Batet proclaimed, her voice fierce and resolved, though a tremor betrayed her. "Are you crazy?" Amari's eyes flitted between the abyss and the glowing shadows behind them. "We'll fall. Or die." Her face was set with a fierce determination, a glimmer of hope battling against despair. "On three," he said, trying to quell the tremor in his voice. 1, 2, 3. They jumped, time slowed as they plunged into uncertainty, fear twisting in their guts, adrenaline surging. The ground beneath began to shift ominously, the creature's howl drowning out everything else. Were they leaping into salvation or doom? In that breathless moment, their fate hung suspended, neither here nor there, as they fell into the unknown. What awaited them in the depths below? Would they find the answers buried in shadows, or become the latest lost souls in the labyrinthine horror? The darkness swallowed them whole, the air thick and suffocating as they plummeted into the abyss. Amari's heart raced, the rushing wind tearing past his ears, drowning out the frantic thumping of his pulse. It was surreal, the sensation of weightlessness, the world above them fading into nothingness. He grabbed for Bastet's hand, feeling the warmth of her grip, grounding him as they descended toward an uncertain fate. Suddenly, with a jolt, they hit something. It wasn't ground, it was soft and yielding, cradling their fall. Amari opened his eyes, blinking against the darkness above him. They lay sprawled on a bed of strange moss that glimmered faintly, pulsing with a bioluminescent glow. "Are we dead?" Batet wheezed, pushing herself up, her hair in disarray but her spirit intact. "No," Amari panted, feeling the world steady around them. He glanced back at the abyss from which they'd come. There was no sign of the creature. "But we need to move again." Cautiously, they rose, dusting themselves off as they took in their new surroundings. The chamber was cavernous, walls glittering with crystalline formations that caught the eerie glow of the moss. It felt alive, a breath of ancient magic trapped in time, yet it also felt like a dark enchantment. "Look!" Batet pointed toward a faintly illuminated path winding through the grotesque beauty. "Maybe it leads to safety." "Or deeper into the heart of darkness," Amari mumbled, his legs still shaky from the adrenaline. But he couldn't shake the sensation of something waiting for them down that path. With a nod, they stepped forward, cautiously navigating the twisting corridors that sprawled ahead. As they walked, strange whispers echoed around them, thin and haunting like a breeze carrying fragments of long-lost conversations. Amari's skin prickled, the whispers were unnerving. What had they stumbled upon? With every step, a deeper dread clawed at his chest. The truth lay hidden here, both terrifying and freeing, but would they find it among the shadows? Pressing on, the corridor opened up into another room. The heartbeat of the place felt steady now, as though welcoming them with ancient knowledge. In the center, a stone altar stood encircled by more glowing moss, atop it rested what appeared to be a shimmering scroll. "Is it?" Batet whispered, eyes wide with a mix of wonder and horror. "The truth?" "No," Amari replied, stepping closer. "It's not just any scroll." He reached out gingerly, feeling pulled by forces he couldn't explain. "It's alive." Tentatively, he unrolled the scroll, vibrant symbols leaping into view. Images danced across its surface, frescoes mirroring the same ones they encountered earlier, but this time, they told a different story. They weren't mortal, he breathed, realization hitting like a wave. These people, they were gods among us. But a sudden tremor shook the ground, cutting through their awe. The stone walls began to crack, falling dust swirling in an arcane dance. "What's happening?" Batet cried, stumbling back. "The knowledge is too great. It wants to escape." Amari shouted, panic seizing his words. "We have to get out, now." Grabbing Batet's hand, they raced back the way they came, the earth rumbled ominously behind them. Cracks spread like veins across the chamber's walls, splitting the glow of the moss. Each footstep pounded heavily, like a countdown to impending doom, but hope surged through them. As they narrowly navigated the falling debris and eerie shadows snapping at their heels, Amari felt a surge of determination. "We can't let this truth die." Bursting into the last corridor, they didn't hesitate as Batet shouted, "The entrance. Go!" With renewed energy, they sprinted toward the brightness that began to swell beyond their reach, a threshold back to the world above. They dove through, rolling into the vibrant daylight of Thebes. But they weren't safe yet. The guards still roamed the streets, searching with relentless fury. And still in the back of his mind lay the truth, waiting to be shared. Amari. Batet called, grabbing his arm. What do we do now? He was still. Catching his breath, the weight of the scroll heavy again in his pocket. We rally the others. These secrets can't be buried. They belong to everyone. As they looked at each other, they felt a bond forged from fear, hope, and an unyielding determination. Together, they would expose the hidden truths of their civilization, face the wrath of the pharaoh, and reshape the haunting shadow looming over their lives. A voice echoed through the square. There they are. The guard's shout sparked dread, but they turned toward the rising sun. Together, Amari said, squeezing Bastet's hand. No turning back. And as they raced toward the heart of Thebes, they charged into uncertainty, armed with the truth that had found them beneath the shadows, ready to change everything. Before they could disappear into the crowd, Amari paused. Are you ready for this? Tension signaled a recalibration of their hearts. As confidence dawned on them like the sun spilling over the horizon, he knew they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. Now was the time to finally discover what new world awaited them above. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second, because you don't want to miss the next exclusive stories about ancient secrets. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. It seriously helps us bring amazing content to you. And flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about what happens to Amari and Batet as they confront their society. Also, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means the world, and only true fans know how essential those actions are to help our community grow.